Welcome to another edition of the eSpot with Camille. The eSpot is your location for the latest in entertainment, beauty, and design from the people who make it. Thanks for joining. I can't get enough of that intro, but I can today because it's another great day. It's another episode of the eSpot with Camille, and I'm your host, Camille Cower. I can't wait for you to meet my guest today. Her name is Andrea Mona Bowman, and we've had her on a few times, like to the point now, I can't remember if it's been 3 times, 4 times, but it's never enough because she's my Shreveport sister. For those that don't know, that's where I was born. But then her work consistently amazing. Like she's worked on so many great films from Young Roc, Emancipation. Well, that's actually a TV show, but Emancipation, the Color Purple musical, which is coming soon in 2023. I'll see what I can get out of her. Go ahead and start putting questions in the comments. So when I get the chance, I can ask her questions as well. But without any further ado, let me bring on the woman of the hour, or 30 minutes. Let's try to keep it 30 minutes, but probably not. We'll try. The edited version might be. Yay, she's back. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Girl, anytime, every time. It's always a fun time to have you and just hear all the juicy behind the scenes stuff that you get to do. When I say juicy, I'm talking about hair. Okay.
Of course.
We're not going to get into all the politics and all the other stuff because I want my girl to keep getting these wonderful jobs and accolades and award nominations to the point that she's already going to win. I'm claiming it for 2024 because I accidentally already wrote it in 2023. Full disclosure, don't get mad at her. It was me. I was like, this must be a typo. This must be an old bio. It doesn't say that she's Oscar nominated because in my mind, you were Oscar nominated this year for Emancipation. I just rewatched it today, this morning.
Oh, thank you.
I was completely in the right mindset. And I have to be honest, when I first started it, I thought it was in black and white. And then I noticed it was sepia. It took a while. And then
it has color in it too.
It does have color. Like it took
it was a different type of way the DP and the director went. To be able to bring you in. My mom described it as a historical picture that was moving. And that touched me because that's what the intent was. We wanted to make sure that it was as authentic. And once you watched it, was drawn into it and followed Peter on his journey. And
that's what I was going to ask because it's well, so you're a trained hairstylist. You worked in the salons first. Watch the previous episodes to see all the backstory because we're jumping into
where I'm at now.
Bachelor's level of questions now. no more kindergarten and high school questions. We're the real stuff. You've been in it now, and you're nominated for a bunch. Again, congratulations. But I was going to say that I noticed like it seemed almost like before it was like it wasn't as fine tuned. Like it wasn't as. I mean, it didn't seem like it was by accident, but a lot of times you're on your phone when you're streaming things at home. And I just felt like every time I looked up, I'm like, whoa, wait, things are changing. Let me put everything away and just focus because the visual of it all. But when you first were interviewed for it, that whole process, can you like break that part down? Like, especially on a film like this, because it's so emotional. There's so much trauma in it. There's so many hard scenes. Yeah.
Well, with me, it was so funny is because I knew Peter's story from researching other shows. When I first ran across Peter's story was for the TV show Underground that was on WGN. And when we were filming, I missed that show so bad. And we actually shot it on a plantation that was in Baton Rouge. That was a museum that they used. And they had this whole big display of things in the front, where you can buy things and stuff. And they had all these murals on the walls, even talked about 12 Years a Slave and all this kind of stuff. And that's when I realized 12 Years a Slave wasn't just a book. It was actually somebody that actually went through those things. And then I ran across Peter's picture. And I was like, well, if this is real, I wonder about this guy. So I started researching. And every time you research slavery, that photo comes up. And then to learn that he was from Louisiana, the Atchafalaya area, and that he actually ran and actually fought in the war. And I was just like very intrigued. And that was in like, I think 2012, 13. But always from the other stuff that I have researched from, anytime you go into period, it pops up. So fast forward to the pandemic, we're shut down. I'm going through Instagram and on this page, this guy always posting Black film and directors and different latest things that come up. And first one popped up was Women of the Movement. And I was like, wow, man, here goes. They finally get a chance to tell Emmett's and his mother's story. And I was like, okay, God, okay, I'm gonna be very specific, but I don't want to be selfish, but I want to be very intentional. If it's not me, please let the right hairstylist do this because I don't want ugly wigs, ugly makeup, ugly clothes, none of this to distract the story. I want the story to be told.
That
So
part.
next week, here come pop up. Will Smith and Antoine Fuqua doing Emancipation. Peter's story. I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, God, I did pray about that one last week, but I want this one too. But I don't want to be selfish either. But oh Lord, please just let the right person be. I promise you, I just want the right person because this is his first story being told.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Mm-hmm.
the next week came Woman King. I had studied those women, the Dahomey tribe, for Lovecraft Country. Because when we
Mm-hmm.
did that episode with Anjanou Ellis, that was the theme of those were the women that it was based off of. So I got introduced to them doing that research. And I was like, okay,
Wow.
God, I know I did one the women of the movement and Emancipation, and I want the Woman King too, but Lord, however, just make sure the right person get it.
I mean, you're a
And
gig worker. That's to be expected.
and I was just like, please, God, I know I'm not the only black hair whisperer, but I just really want these people's story told because
Mhm.
they had never been told. And fast forward, that was June, and here come December. I was up for the academy, the oh God, the Umbrella Academy in Canada,
Oh,
and they
wow.
pushed it. Yeah, I had got the job, took it, but they pushed it, and then I had family situation, and I couldn't take it, and I was so hurt because I had gave my word first of all, but I was like, I can't be in Canada 10 months either anyway because they pushed it to 10 months, and 3 days later they called me for the women of the movement, and I was like, wow, I really wanted this one. I was like, okay, okay. So I forgot about the other one. In my studying for that one, the Holy Spirit told me start researching about the 1800s. And I was like, you know what? I'm a teacher. I always practice what I preach. I tell my students when something come in your spirit, start working on it because you just never know and
Mhm.
prepare because something is brewing.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
was went to do start the job in Mississippi for Women of the Movement. February of that year, I get an email. Hey Mona, we want to check out, your availability for Emancipation.
Wow.
I had to pull over because I was driving to go get some supplies, and I was just screaming. My son was in the car because he was doing COVID with us in Mississippi. He was like, "Mom, why are you screaming and crying?" I was like, "I they called me about it,"
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, "Oh, Mom, you've been talking about this show forever," and I was like, "Yeah." So get into that phone call, and it was from a producer I never worked with, but he had got my name from another producer I had worked with years ago. And he said, and I asked him, and I said, well, what do I need to send you? Because I want to sell it. I'm
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
what I need
mhm.
to do? And
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, no, he gave your name. And if he said you're the one, you're the one. You got it.
Okay, you gotta kinda shout out that producer since he shout you out. You know, the whole point
Yes.
is to say those names in rooms,
Mr.
especially
Todd
since there might
Black.
be somebody out
Yes.
there be like, let me send my
His
resume to that guy."
His name is Todd Black. He's one of the biggest, most lovingest, sweet, and affectionate, and
Mm.
faithful, and
Mhm.
loyal. Because I met him on my first job, which was the Great Debaters with Denzel, and he never forgot Mona B. So yeah, I reconnected with them on Fences, and he always promised me. He said, "Mona, if it's gonna be a special one, I know, and I'm gonna call you. Just, just, just know I'm gonna
Be
call you."
patient. 'Cause how
Yeah.
many years was that, right?
Oh, Fences was 2000, what, 14, 15, something like that.
Hey, that's amazing. Because
Yeah,
sometimes you
and
think people have forgotten about you, but they're just waiting for the right project for you. So
yeah,
remember that actors that are out there casting calls, you don't get that one
yes,
edition. They may be saving you. It may take
yes.
7 years,
But
but
I just believe
keep
that
doing other
everything
jobs
that's
though.
for, yeah, things that
Yeah.
are for you, I feel like it's gonna be full circle to
Mhm.
you. I'm a
Mhm.
firm believer of that because, like I always tell people, I'm from a little city about that big, and
Yeah.
I never moved into the last 6 years of my career, and I'm what 16 years come April, and I never had to move. I moved to Atlanta because I wanted to. It wasn't
Mhm,
because
mhm.
of work. I just always went with the flow of how I felt I needed to direct my life. Because when I got divorced with my ex husband with my youngest son, he was 2 years old, and I promised that I would not take my son away from his dad. So I stayed in Shreveport until he graduated, and I counted leaving out of the courtroom. Okay, 2017, I'm moving. And that's when I moved. And I did
I
that for
love it.
me, but it
Yeah.
wasn't for work. I just trust that your work speak for you. That's my motto for
Mhm.
my production company is if you do the work and you prepare, I feel like God will always put the opportunities and the people that you need in place for you to
Yeah.
be able to accomplish those things. And I'm a firm believer in that's how I've gotten every job that I've had. I hadn't solicited. I don't send out emails. I don't chase it. I just let
Yeah.
it come. And I'm not working, I know that means I need to be home and working either on me as a person or with my family or traveling with my
Mhm.
family or attending
Mhm.
to things with my family. You know how I am about
No,
my
yeah.
family. My family is it, but it's always that coming back. When I first started, I was kind of antsy about it, but now I'm rooted in it now that I know that what's for me and strategically set up for me, I'm going to be in that place. And all I have to do is just keep preparing. And just like now, preparing for my next three, I'm deep in prep right now. I can't disclose yet, but
No, nope. Look.
can't disclose yet, but it's three good ones back to back to back here in Atlanta. And yeah, y'all gonna be like, oh we, because I'm saying, oh we too.
Girl,
I'm just
just
excited to
follow
be a
her
part.
Instagram or Facebook, everything, because that's what I love about you. So, like, because I don't know, many people might not know this, but I pursued makeup artists on films. Like, I wanted to do that, but
Hmm.
it was just like, wait, how many hoops do I have to jump through to get in the union?
Yeah,
I'm going to
it's
SAG after. Like, I,
yeah,
I like being in front of the camera too, but I did love, and even my dad all the time brings up, Camila, you're so good at that makeup. Why don't you do that? Because I can't get in the union.
yeah.
Granted,
It's a
things are changing.
process. Yeah, it's a
Things are
process,
changing.
and like for
Yeah.
me, and I think that's part of why God drove me to Atlanta, because I've
Mhm.
helped. I know at least like 16 or 17 people to get into the union.
And that's the thing, like,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say, like, you're always so good about sharing
Oh
not
yes.
only what you're working on, some cute little behind the scenes without getting in trouble, because, just in case there's producers out
Yeah.
there looking, she doesn't do anything on set, it's only in the trailer, and it's usually, like, wrap day at that point,
Hmm.
and nothing in costumes, 'cause, I'm a
Nothing.
producer's kid, I know what not to repost at the same time, even if it's by accident. But anyway,
Hmm.
I like, when it comes to once you get those scripts and so on, or get the job, what is that process for you? Because you do break down the scripts, you do all of that,
Hmm.
but as far as, like, even building your team, do you? Because I was just watching this TikTok earlier, not TikTok, Instagram reel, where they were
Hmm.
talking about how nowadays there isn't like one expert stylist anymore. There's one that's special in natural hair and sew-ins and wigs and this, that. Is that how you build your team? Like, knowing what kind of process you're going to need, who would fit those roles, or is it just like
Yeah.
sometimes whoever
It,
IATSE sends you?
I pray. Well, IATSE don't get us jobs. IATSE just protect us on our jobs.
Okay.
Um, it's up to the department head, and when I'm leading or even when I'm keying, I'm normally in a position to where I'm the one that brings the flow of the extra additional help. And
Mhm.
for me, I watch. That's why I like to go day play when I'm not on a job full time. I like to go day play to see the newer people and watch their skill set. But
Mm.
my first initial thing is pray, because it's not just about the skill set sometimes. Sometimes it's about the person's personality. It's sometimes about the person's availability and their drive. If
Yeah.
it's a show that's not really high demand, some people I know I can put in this position. But if it's a
Mhm.
high demand, very quickly moving show, I know I can't get nobody that can't multitask,
Right.
because I'm going to have to go back and double check and pick up and all that. So it's I'll say like a five factor for me. It's
Mhm.
personality, it's skill set, it's like I said, get up and go, availability, and location sometimes, because even when I'm on location, sometimes they want us to hire local, but I always try to bring a team that I know that can bring, because like 90% of my resume, you of course is period. So everybody think they can do period, but it's not the same.
Mm-mm.
So for me, I like to have people that know their technique, that use the actual products, that use the actual equipment, A lot of times people like to cheat and think that they're getting it, but it's inspired. You can tell when you put that next to something that has really been used. Like I screenshot, and I always do the side by sides to make sure that I am on track and very authentic with bringing any character to life. Because for me, character development is so significant, especially for the actor that is trying to come, bring this person into to life, especially if it has been a real person. You have to dig deep and really go into that character development as well. So for me, I've watched over the years and I pay attention who has the pros and the cons, who fit this and who fit that. And then ultimately is how I feel in my spirit about who I need to bring as a teammate, because we're with each other 16 hours a day for 3 to 6 months. So I can't have nobody that's a real good skill set with a real pissy attitude working with me every day, because it drains, the energy drains, and it takes away from what it offers into a trailer, because we all become a family. Not saying you got to love and all that, but it's out of respect and having a certain level of, I'll say it's a certain level of responsibility, because for me, I'm responsible for my team. So for me as a leader, I have to make sure that my team know they're responsible for me and the team as well. So if we're all responsible for each other, we're not going to come, not saying people don't have bad days. I'm saying coming in with that mess, everybody know it. It's across the board. Every job is not just in film and TV. It's across every office. Have that one that's very needy and clingy and messy and insecure and jealous hearted and envious and all those type of stuff. I like to deal with people that are grown, that have gotten into that, they know themselves and they know their gifts, and they're not offended by somebody that does this better or are stronger in this one, or if they're stronger in this one, they're not trying to downplay or make this other person feel like they're not. Because I always ask my team, are you good at finger waves? Are you good at such and such? Are you good at this? Tell me your pros. Also tell me your cons, what you're not good at. And it's okay. Some people get offended when people tell, and then they hold it against them. I don't. I just know if you're good with paperwork and not as good as blowout, I'm going to put you on that good paperwork. And I need you to work that good paperwork, because that's a part of it too that a lot of people don't understand.
Continuity of it all.
Exactly. Continuity and just paperwork, making sure the additionals have all their ducks in a row. That's a whole train in itself. And you have to have people that have office skills, that also have hair skills, and able to do both things, because there are times that you're not going to be able to just sit there in front of the computer, or just to be able to, you have to work it. And if you ever would have gave it a chance to see me on set, I don't sit down. I don't stop moving, because it's so much going on, and I just like to be ahead of everything for my teams, especially when I'm leading, to make sure that they're being led properly, so the next day we can be ahead of the game much as we can, because sometimes they change. They'll come in there and say, we're not going to shoot scene 3 now first. We're going to shoot it at the end of the day after we already got everybody done. And I'm like, okay, do you not know that we just did all? Okay, no worries, let's do that. And then not just be able to do it in 10 minutes or less. That's the other part that a lot of people don't know, because a lot of people say, you hear the bad talk about the wigs and stuff and the looks on a lot of shows and stuff now. But a lot of times people don't understand that production don't always give us time to give that look. They'll say, oh, it's not going to be seen, or it's not, because they're trying to meet their quota as well. A lot of times they run into hiccups and have to change and rearrange stuff. So we're only trying to get all this done in 12 hours, and they can't. So they're pulling and pulling. But that's why I try to do my trainings and teach other hairstylists to be able to learn tricks of the trade, that you can be able to I can change a whole hairstyle standing right with my set bag, 5 minutes or less. Totally change it without even having curling iron.
See, I would love to work on you, with you on set, just to see the quick draw of it all.
Oh my God. When I tell you I'm quick draw, but I've taught myself that, because I know that's a necessity in this industry. Because so when you can't take them back to the trailer, what are you going to be able to do? Because nobody going to hear the story and say, oh, the director said he wanted to change now and I didn't have time to go. That ain't going to be in the credits, boo. Ain't nothing going to be in the credits but Andrea Mona Bowman, department head. Lie.
Mhm.
We're not gonna let you go on camera looking crazy. Sometimes the polar actresses or actors be breathing hard and be like, "Oh, I look crazy." No, bruh. No, sis. I got you. And that's
Mhm.
the other part, being able to give the actors that confidence to know that you're trained and have a trained team. And that's why I implore people, study,
Yeah.
study, try to take
Yeah.
as many classes you can. Even if you're not in the film industry, that goes according even for the salon. I still go to
Mhm.
hair shows. I still watch videos. I still subscribe to everything because trends change, because I want to be current, even though I do a
Mhm.
lot of period stuff. But it's the knowledge in itself that you can learn something that you did last time this way. Oh, and I changed it that way. You see somebody, I watch videos all day every day. It never
Yeah.
changed because I'm always looking for that thing, because I feel like whatever I put into it, God will bring it back to my memory. So in that clutch time, it's in here. How are
Mhm.
you going to bring something out if it's not there? You know what
It's
I'm
like
saying?
osmosis. It's like,
Yes.
like the same thing. Like you can't sleep on the book, but if you look at the book,
Yes, and it will,
some of it might sink
and it's
in.
in there, and it's in there, and
Yeah.
I'm a visual person, so for
Me
me,
too.
if I see it, it's in there. All I had
Mhm.
to do is, okay, I need to do a certain kind of ponytail. Oh, you remember that bit? They pushed it, the middle side, put the,
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
got it. And that's how it works. That's
Yeah.
how it works.
So I'm sure we probably covered this before, but I just in case we do have some newbies, what would be like your main tips you would tell someone that's just starting in the game as far as the differences of being in a salon as opposed to going to meetings? Like if you're contemplating it and like, what do I need to know to make sure you're at that point? You could jump in. Maybe not period piece, but anything
Well,
in that matter. Mhm.
I can't say just period either, because guess what my first one was? Period.
Period piece,
That
yeah.
I had never
You know
seen.
how to use Marcel's, so that's a little
But
different.
I knew how, yep, and I knew
Using
how
all
to,
like these flat iron girls,
yes.
they don't know how to use no
And see, I was
Marcel's.
already using Marcel, so that was my saving grace. You made a great
Mhm.
point. I was already trained in how to do Marcel curling,
Yeah.
because it if you don't know how to Marcel curl or do the figure eight, period hairstyling is not your thing. That
Mhm.
flat iron will not give you the same look. It'll give you an inspired period look, but
And
it
it'll
would
look
not give you
beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it would not give you an
Mhm.
authentic look because they didn't have flat irons then.
No,
So
you were
yeah, what I would say
mhm.
definitely is train, train, train.
Mhm.
Try to Google and find as many period hairstyling, period books. I love Amazon. Amazon is my best friend. I think I've ordered probably 80 books from Amazon from 1800s. It's a book that has 5,000 centuries in this particular book. It goes way back to prehistoric almost
Yeah.
time, look like, and it has so many displays. But it's just about getting in and deep researching.
Mhm.
Was it Etsy, I think, or eBay, those types of things? Because I've even on Women of the Movement found actual early 19th century Marcells for
Mhm.
$20. Somebody was selling that we actually used in the scene for when I was doing a
Yeah.
scene at a salon. So I would say buy as many books, get as many trainings, because there's a lot of people out there, especially wigs. Learn wig work. Learn not with the pasting the uh,
Lace front.
the stocking cap on the hair
Oh,
and then
yeah.
putting the wig on top. Not that type of wig application, because you won't have that much time to do it. You have to learn true, I would say, film and theater applications trainings. You can Google
Mhm.
those different ones. There are different types because they're different than the YouTube and the Instagram and TikTok applications.
Yeah.
And I've even different ones that I've done myself that God just showed me in that moment. Like the post I posted today, the young man, I didn't have a chance to order a custom wig, and his head was too small. And I had to make it work because literally we only had 3 days. We were over budget and over filming.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I had to go pray and say, Lord, please give me something I can use for his head. And found a wig with a textured look, added all those braids, and that took me 3 days to braid all that stuff in between doing everybody, added the accessories. He ended up catching COVID, couldn't come to do a wig fitting. So it was day of break. When I put it on his head, it was this much difference. Prayed, and God showed me what to do. I dragged and used his hairline with the edges of the wig. But if I didn't know how to use hairlines, I would have been screwed. It would have never worked. So
Yeah.
that's why I said learn other applications to where you're not gluing down that stocking cap to be your base to blend in. You can use the natural hairline. A lot of times, like on the Young Lady on Women of the Movement,
Mm-hmm.
Adrian hair is here and it was blonde. Nobody knew. Her only thing that was dark was her roots. And I used her natural hairline to put her wig on. And her wig was not a custom as well. And I actually, when I bought it, that wig was this, it was so dense and huge. But
Yeah.
that's another thing, learning how to customize wigs to where the right density fits this person's face. And we were trying to match her to Mamie. And so Mamie had a finer texture of hair. Wigs don't come really fine. So I had to cut and really get in there and thin it out to be able to get that curling to where it looked like a real natural head of hair from the 1950s. So those are things that I would say immediately coming in, because learning density, taking classes, training as much as you can. The blessed part about things now, everything is online now.
Yeah.
But get with some reliable people that you know that do TV and film, because it's so different from salon. Because it was a power, it was a whole thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I have been my own boss since I was 19, and here I am in my late 30s, being told what to do. And that's another thing. Learn how to follow instructions. Listen and learn how to follow instructions. That's your biggest thing in this industry.
Yeah.
Because coming in as an artist, what I've learned, a lot of people that are artists don't like to be told what to do. Oh, I thought it looked better with this big wave.
Or get
But
feedback.
yeah, but don't understand that in that meeting, that production meeting, the director don't want that, because two scenes later, she's going to be doing something different that her hair can't be in that wave. And if it's in
Mhm.
that wave, we're not going to be able to continue it in the wave. You feel me? So a lot of times people come and they play and they get mad. Oh, she don't know what she's talking about. That's ugly. I can make it look like this. But you don't understand. You wasn't in a meeting. There are specifically things that are told. They want it back in a ponytail. You didn't put it in all these beach waves because you think because she got on this cute dress, but she's a
Yeah.
crackhead.
Yeah.
So would you realistically see a crackhead with big beach waves, fabulous
Where's she
dark
gonna get the crow in
glistening?
it? So there's a movie or a TV show.
Yes.
I'm not even gonna say the name because everybody was talking about the same thing, I believe. But it was during the apocalypse,
Hmm.
and you see this beautiful girl with box braids all the way down to her bottom,
Hmm.
and no new growth, but was born during the apocalypse. Where'd she get that hair from, boo? Where did you get it from? Who's braiding her hair? Who has the braid still on? Who has time to do that during apocalypse? Like, because some people don't know the difference between dreadlocks and braids. So they're giving us
Hello.
the same thing, thinking it's, and I'm
The
like,
same.
let me go look real quick in IMDb to see the color of the hairstylist and the wig and the key. I'm like, oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what I suspect.
And
But
that
those are the
matters as
times when
well.
you're like,
The character development and understanding
important.
the who the character is, what the character is doing,
Mhm.
what ethnic group, what all these things. We're required to do that, but sometimes people don't. And then other cultures that don't know cultures, I try to implore that as well to people. If you don't know, please find people that you know that know. There are people that know everything. There's somebody that you can Google that can tell you how to do something that you don't know how. I
Mhm,
promise you,
mhm,
across the board. That's in
mhm,
every genre, every type of job that you do. But you know what most people don't want to do? They don't want to ask for help. They want to seem like they know everything. I research crazy because I do want to know everything, but I
mhm,
also know that I don't know everything. And I'm not afraid to go ask, and I'm sure not afraid to go dig. You're not going to find nothing that is not based accordingly to a period, a time. If it's some type of monster or somebody, because even on like Lovecraft, we was based in the 50s, but we went future and then we came back and all that.
yeah,
It's still read correctly because I made sure that I researched and I broke it down and I went to the showrunner. Give me your input on what you were writing and why you wrote this like this. And do you want this person, or have we jumped
mhm,
to the future? Have we did this and come back? And if you go back and see that episode with Anjanou that we spoke about, you see she had the blue hair and the blue bob. They forced her into the future because of the color, but they wanted to keep her in it a period hairstyle to keep the story still going as if she walked into something, but she's still in a period.
Yeah, it was
So
neat
those
because
are
it
the
was like
things.
what they would think the future would look like,
Yes,
not necessarily what we know what the
yes,
future hairstyles
yes,
really look like. That's what I got from it too. I think
yes.
I remember the blue bob type
Uh-huh.
wig and the
The little
yeah,
flip,
blunt
yes.
braids. Yeah, I was like, oh,
And you
it's
know how
very
many
60s
blues I
looking.
went through to get to that good blue?
That was a beautiful cobalty deep
Yes,
blue.
that was a
Yeah.
concoction, girl.
I mean, is there nothing that Andrea can't do? Miss Mona Bowman, there's not. So, um, you've done a lot of period piece. You got to do a little sci-fi with
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft. What is there anything that you haven't done yet? Not necessarily a type, not necessarily a film or a person you want to work with, but is there something that you're still like, I want to do in the hair world, whether it's, I don't know, fashion weeks or anything? Like, is there still something that you haven't done that you want to
Oh,
do?
well, I've done fashion stuff as well. That
Mhm.
was before the film, but I'm actually because I started my own business,
Yeah,
Mona
yeah.
Beast Production this year, and
Congrats,
that's
congrats.
going to be part of that journey. For my trainings, I'm gonna start doing trainings full time for people that want to learn hair and have different types of panels and different things for makeup as well and costumes connected because that's the core, what I call the heartbeat of production. So I want to try to touch bases with not just my department I'm so accustomed to use to work with because
Mhm.
when you learn other departments, especially ones that are so closely knit, it teaches you how to flow. And that's what I want to be able to teach those that are coming in or those that are in that don't have enough experience, but really want to get down to the nitty gritty. And that's what I'm teaching tricks and stuff like that. Also, developing content and creating content under my new production company, and also doing mobile hairstyling services for weddings and events and red carpets and stuff like that. So yeah, so I'm
So the
tapping to it.
Energizer Bunny never stops, is what I'm
No,
hearing.
I done tapped into pretty much anything that the beauty market and offered. I have experienced it either in the beginning of my career or now, but now I'm trying to wear around it all around education and
Mhm,
giving back more so than just having the opportunity for myself. That's
mhm.
always been my intent because God told me He brought me into this industry to be able to be a light. So that's what I try to do. I try to help those that want it for the right reason, those that are trying to think they're better than themselves and oh I do baby, that's not it because we work.
Yeah.
People don't understand. When we did Emancipation, we was out in them swamps. I
Mhm.
walked on set one day coming
But
straight in hot, and
mosquitoes
an
stop your work.
alligator came out the water. Right then the people jumped and grabbed him. I was like, oh, okay, God, what did I just sign up for?
Okay, see, I was just thinking like mosquito bites.
Oh no, no, no.
Like,
Mosquitoes and
I didn't even
mosquitoes.
think of alligators.
No, mosquitoes are the least of my concerns, girl. You know, we from Louisiana. Girl, them alligators though. I'm not lying. It was one day Will was actually he did the scene where he's leaning back when he went under the water and fought the alligator and came up.
Mhm.
We shot the scene, everything. You know how now we finna move to the next place. Soon as they move that thing, guess what pops up?
Girl,
A
no.
nice, nice big old black water moccasin.
Oh,
Oh yes.
wait,
That
those
could
are
have went.
poisonous. Never mind. For a minute there, I was like,
Oh
"Oh, not
yes.
so bad." Wait,
Oh
black
yes.
rat
Oh
snakes aren't
yes.
poisonous, but those
Yes.
are. Those are
Oh,
scary.
they are. And God was with us. And, they had wranglers and all that, but, that's nature. And we're out there.
Mhm.
And that's why they try to have as much as they can and had us on. We were on guard our whole time because we was on this little walkway of things where we can control the environment. They blocked off everything, but nature gonna do what nature gonna do.
Yeah, nature doesn't know what sidewalks aren't
Exactly.
meant for
And
them.
that's what they
Yeah.
did. Nature did what they wanted to do. But it was a lot of that. Like people don't understand when it's raining and cold in those scenes, hair, makeup, wardrobe, and grips and directors, all of it, we're out there in those elements. And that's another thing for especially new hairstylists. They say they want to get out in them streets. And I'll be like, okay, baby, you do know it's not a controlled environment where you can go in and turn that air on and turn that AC off. You're in the rain, you're in the storms, you're in the Oh my God.
I
I have
mean, the fact that
stories.
she was covered in all that goo. I
Oh
remember
yes.
in gosh,
Underground.
yeah, well, no, not Underground. The other one with
Oh,
her, Journey Smollett. You were just talking about it with Anjan.
well, with Ingenue?
Yeah, but in that movie where I can't remember what character it was, but they got covered in the red slime.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and all
Yes.
of that, and then they had
That
to
was Lovecraft. Yeah.
yeah, and like
Yeah. And just
I
think
know from
about for me,
experience. Yeah,
the young lady, she had on a wig too, and we had to do take after take. So I had to come up with all these different things to be able to take that stuff off and not let it stain the hair or the skin. It's a whole thing, and you have to be alert and be able to know to be able to put that stuff back together because it
mhm.
can go back to the trailer and get all refluffed, but it has to be seamless, so when the editor comes to edit, it has to look like it looked before. So it's a lot. That's
And you
why I'm
do an amazing
offering
job, and
that's
that's
why
why I
I'm
love
offering
seeing
the
everything.
classes, because it when people really, and I try to tell people, try to take some classes that you can really see what it takes to make TV and film. And I didn't know, like when I did Great Debaters, which was my first one, I remember we did this dance sequence and it took us 2 weeks. And I remember going
Mm.
to the theater and seeing it, and I was so excited. And I was like, oh, because I did background then. And I was just like, oh, I can't wait to see all my people. And girl, that 2 weeks turned into a hot, if 25 seconds. I was like,
Oh,
hold up, wait, hold up. I know they finna. And
yeah,
I said, oh, okay, this is what they do. And I learned
yeah.
from that experience that that's why you have to be very detailed in your continuity and making sure. I even teach that, and because I'm preparing a book, I'm making a pamphlet, a workbook that people can use
Mm.
about continuity as well. Because you see a lot of films now, and you see what continuity is kind of
It's kind of my fun
overlooked.
game.
Like
Yeah.
overlooked, and you're sitting there watching and you're not even a real filmmaker, and you can be like, her hair wasn't like that. Wait a minute,
Mhm.
her makeup, she didn't have that outfit. What?
We will
Oh,
not
okay.
speak of the man who likes to spend his budgets on everything but wigs and, writers, but I've heard that sometimes when you're working in such fast that's it, I mean, let me back up. So a lot of black films, they don't get the same budget or timeline as a lot of
Mm-hmm,
big budget films that don't
mm-hmm,
star predominantly black people. So
mm-hmm,
they're also working a lot faster with a lot less and a lot less time. Cause I mean, I know a couple of my dad's films were only done in 40 days. So it's like,
mm-hmm.
and they're blockbusters. So that's when you're working that fast. Whew, but there are some perks. So can you, because we've gone a lot of the pitfalls and pitfalls and things you need to learn, but what are some of the great perks? Because seeing you at doing all these things when you were on the short list for the Oscars was the coolest thing
Was
I've
the
ever
coolest
seen, I believe.
experience too.
So can you talk about some of the perks of dealing with alligators and snakes? Oh my, or
Yes.
even the celebrities' egos that could be just as bad, or directors, who knows? But you've had
Well,
great
for
experience.
me, I
Mhm.
would say it's the creative part of it.
Mm,
I have
mhm.
loved TV and film. My mom said she wasn't shocked because my first love was acting and dancing and performing. I wanted to be an actress. So I was always intrigued with the moving screen of TV. So for me, it was the creative part. I taught my fifth grade class Thriller, painted their face, tore up their costumes, everything, taught them the routine. We did a whole ensemble. I did all that, and I was the lead in fifth grade. So I was that girl. I'm a daughter of a school teacher. So my creative juices, she always allowed me to just create whatever I wanted to create.
Yeah.
So the creative part of this is for me, because when I went into doing hair, because I know a lot of people think, oh, she must wanted to do hair her whole life. No, never thought in a million years I would be doing anybody's hair. But my mom couldn't do my hair, and I prayed, Lord God, if you just teach, let me learn how to do my hair. I promise you, I would do everybody hair, and didn't know he was literal. Because from that seventh grade experience, doing
Yeah.
my cousin's first haircut turned into my whole life of always doing people hair just to make them feel good. Because in my hood, people didn't have the type of money to always get their hair done. So I started doing my friends, and I did everybody for the prom and everything. It just went from high school to college. And then met my cousin one day. We both with two kids in the projects, and I had to drop out of school because I was pregnant. And she was like, let's go to beauty school. And I was like, why not?
Mhm.
And I was like, no, that ain't my goal, but I'll do it for you because I know this will help you get out of the project, as if I ain't in the project. That part. But listening to the lady going through the tour of the school, and the lady said, you know, if you're a good hairstylist, you can make up to $100,000 a year. I said, excuse me, ma'am. I can do what? And that was in the 90s. So I'm calculating carried and one and carried it. I said, oh yeah, we finna do this. And I said, cuz I'm in here for you. She didn't know all the time. I really didn't have no interest in it. But at that moment, it changed the game for me because I knew then I could control my dynamic because it was up to me how many skills I could learn could take me to another level. And the question is, how many times have I made $100,000? It ain't nobody but God. But that was me being faithful to the craft. But the creative side of this, I think the traveling for me, the traveling is a great perk for me. Sometimes it can be a down thing because you don't get a chance. Sometimes you miss a lot of family stuff. So for me, the family part of it sometimes hurt me, or I have to almost kill myself to go back home, fly in, or drive 13 hours one way to get to see my son's graduation, or this and this and that. It can do that as well. But the perks of traveling is being in new cities, learning new people, learning new events, seeing cities on somebody else's dime. Girl, that's always been my little thing. Yeah, and we don't want to talk about that per diem. She's cute. That's a whole nother thing. My son used to tell me, like, Mom, don't worry about it. You ain't missing nothing. Go get that check. And I was like, boy, you something else. He was like, just get per diem and send it to him. I bought a car with a per diem one time. So you see the perks.
I mean,
yeah,
if you can do it, go
and the
union.
money, and exactly, and the money, and you know, for me, it's more so the creative side of it, because to see a character on paper and then you see it come to life in front of you. Oh my God. And it could be some of the simplest stuff, but I promise you I'll be so excited because like right now in my prep, I have these visions in my head of what I want these people to look like based off of what the director already sent and said that he wants, but I want to put my little spin on it. And I cannot wait. I can't sleep now because it's processing in my head. When I get this wig put on his head and thin it out and do the things that I have to do, I cannot wait to see him in his costume and come in and then turn into this person. That's like the highlight of my whole job, just to see that kind of stuff. Like it is. And you would think that I haven't done it like ever the way
I mean, that's like
every
thing, right?
show,
if you love what you do.
Yes, every show, every character, even the background. I know some people be like, oh, the background. I'm very intentional even with my background. Like I love to make people feel good and welcome because I feel like every component of that set coming off that piece of paper is very vital and important. So for the watcher, because I'm a watcher as well. So when I watch a show, I'm not just watching it, I'm intrigued into this character. I was looking at a couple shows today and I hadn't seen the second season, but I was a part of the first season. And I was just sitting there just groped into it, talking to the TV. My son came in, he was like, Mom, you are really a movie watcher. Like you be in it. I'm like, bruh, I'm serious. I love film. I love storytelling. And my friend girl, when she went with me to the Oscar contender thing, and I was telling her, I said, I don't understand how people don't really be passionate about creating these characters. And she said, Mona, the difference is you are a real filmmaker. You're not just a hairstylist. You're a filmmaker. And she said, that's the difference. And I said, girl, you're right. Because when you're a filmmaker, you're really concerned about every component of this, because my component, it's just as vital as the grips part, just as vital as the director's part, just as vital as the actor's part.
And it keeps you, it keeps you in tune with what, like the different styles and looks. And like, I never understood when I meet people who work in the entertainment industry and I'm like, I don't own a TV. I never go to me. Then why are you in this? Like, honey, so why are you here?
Like, I love it. I'm not gonna lie. I love TV and film. I love fashion. I love fashion shows. I love music videos. I love anything, especially photos, girl.
Watching, whether it's on TV, film, everywhere. I just love seeing beautiful things coming to life. I love getting inspired by other people, seeing the way they live, work, dress. I was a sociology major in college, so it's like right up my alley, all of the things. And like you were saying earlier about you're like always learning stuff. And that's me. I mean, I'm always like, oh, I could do this. Because I'm also ADHD. And I'm like, oh, I'm good at this. But I am good at a lot of things. but it's like, because I just have that thirst for knowledge and learning new things.
Yes.
And that's what I think the film industry gets you to do. You get to play all these different parts, even when you're behind the scenes, because you're never just a
Mhm.
hairstylist. You're also a therapist,
Mhm.
a wrangler, a
Sometimes you get pushed into the scene, or you get, oh, I'm a producer. I've been producing for years.
Mhm,
I have told so many times and structured so many things because they don't
mhm.
understand. And that's what another thing that I'll be trying to tell the producers.
Yeah.
Y'all really need to get in close to like the heartbeat, which is hair, makeup, and wardrobe. Learn how we work, because if you understand how the heartbeat works, your body will be fine. You will know how it flows. But a lot of producers don't know, because like even on Lovecraft one time, they tried to get us to make them look like those zombies. That episode where the ghost, where she was surrounded by the ghost. It took 4 to 5 hours for them to put all that stuff on them, with the neck ate out and the lady head all cut up and all
Mm,
that kind of stuff. But they wanted us to do that and then go back and then go back. And I'm like, no, shoot all the stuff that we can make them quicker without the stuff. Then let them eat lunch, go and then get into that character. Then you shoot all of that. I said,
mhm, mhm.
oh, Mona, that makes sense. I said, duh. I said, so you
Ties
think
in.
we're going to take 5 hours before, shoot 35 minutes to an hour of stuff, break them down, have to clean it back up again, and then go back? Bro, that's not happening. Not in one day, unless you're going to
Mm.
get us another 24 hours. And he was like, you're
Ooh,
right.
that sounds like golden hour.
And when he came
Yeah.
back, he was like, girl, thank you so much. Are you producing? I say, yeah, I produced this one. Thank you. Let's get it done because I'm ready to go.
Yeah. You can just give me that money. I just saved you.
That part. Because we all connected,
My
bro.
producer
At the
credit
end
on
of the day,
IMDb. Just
we just
kidding.
gotta get this
Yeah.
shot done today. And I want it to look great. And that's the other part. A lot of times they don't even know those prosthetics and hair pieces and all that stuff. It has a time zone, it has a time frame.
Mm,
It'll expire. It doesn't care that you haven't got the shot if you had it on 6 hours and it only lasts 5 hours.
yeah.
It don't care.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to make sure everybody knows how they can keep up with you, how they can follow you, where they can see. I mean, I posted now about just follow you on Andrea Mona Bowman. But
Thank
is there
you.
anywhere else? Because I didn't know about your new production company. I missed that.
Yes, this just happened this year. I just got official come January. So this is really freshly new.
Oh,
And
is that a
so,
Capricorn month? Oh, wow. Huh. I didn't even know it.
I have two. I own two. My oldest and my youngest is Capricorns. Yes. So, I live, and my sister, I live for a good Capricorn, darling.
I mean,
Darling.
wait this. That's fine on the
But
Zodiac.
I'm a
But
Leo, though, darling. That we're the best ones of them all,
I
darling.
mean, my mother's a Leo, so it's so fitting.
So I know you love us, darling.
I call her every
But
day,
yes.
all day. Favorite person. So, yeah.
But you guys can follow me, same like she said, Andrea Mona Bowman, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. I keep it all the same. So it's easy to find me. And you can email me if you need to ask any questions, or you can DM me. Ask any questions. I take time out to answer, talk, communicate. If I can help you, I can. If I can't, I ain't. But I have all intent, so just feel free. And my email is Andrea Bowman 7319 at Yahoo. And you also can reach me, I forgot, on monabeproductions.com as well.
All right. One last thing, because you never, oops, let me try that again. Okay. One last thing, because I don't know if you can answer this or not, but do you have any clue when the Color Purple musical might come out?
Yes, we have word on the street that it will be December. That's all I can give you, December. Yes. And we just got the word that it's one of the top 10 most anticipated films of 2023. It's going to blow you guys' mind. I cannot. This is one just as sweet as Women of the Movement, Emancipation was to me. This one is it's
And,
going to be timeless. You're not going
and
to expect it.
And I have to admit, because I'm a purist sometimes, I don't usually like reboots. There's very few
Hmm.
I think I do like, but you pulled me in when you mentioned all the things you mentioned. So people out
Hmm.
there, I know some of you might be like me, like don't like reboots
Well,
or
this is the musical
this is
movie.
the music, right?
Yes, it's
This is
not
what
the
was originally made
yes,
before that the film was made after,
yes,
technically. So
yes, technically. So
okay.
we went from that to, then they went to the film, and then they turned it to the musical movie. So the components of the film and the musical is, All I'm gonna say, we worked our mojo on that thing. Yeah, it's when I tell you it's beautifully done.
Yeah.
I've never been more proud. I've been proud of a lot of stuff, but this
Yeah.
one
I
I'm
know.
anticipating just like you guys are because I already know just from what we shot, but to see it put together once it's all put together, I know my heart is just gonna melt.
I mean,
I
you've
can't
never
wait for you
been
guys
wrong
to see.
yet because you told me
Oh
about
no,
Aretha. You're right. You told me about Women's
I'm
in
not
the.
gonna
You're
lie.
right.
I'm not gonna lie, because you know
Look,
one
you
thing
tell
about it,
me.
I love everybody, but if it ain't it, I'm gonna say, child.
I'm just gonna tell you because I love watching movies, but there's so much now. So you gotta. There's a time and a place for every type of movie, and if it
Yes.
has Andrea Mona Bowman's name on it, if you see her IMDb page, and if she's working on it, it's worth it to try it. I mean, you can't go wrong. It's probably going to be an Oscar contender or an Emmy contender or BAFTA or all the things in between. So, Ben, thank you so much for coming back to the E
Thank
Spot, and
you.
we'll have
I
to have you back in
appreciate
2024 so we can talk all the things about the color purple that we can't talk about now.
it. Yes. Thank you so much, beautiful, for your time. Thank you guys, everybody that joined. I appreciate your support. And thanks again, Camille. You're the best.
Always. And on that note, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the E Spot with Camille. I will say next week is a little iffy, and I might be going on hiatus to deal with some other off-camera stuff. But know that every Thursday, it's either 12 o'clock or 7 o'clock. You can catch a new episode live, or you're going to get the replay at 7. But today we did it live. Because my girl is busy, and when she is home, she is taking care of her family, and that is okay with me because family's first. All right, everyone, thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you follow my friend. All of the information is down there, and thanks again for tuning in. And make sure you share this with a friend and a friend and another friend, and then that's friend's friend, and keep sharing it until you can't stop sharing it. And then when you're still sharing it, you should be sharing it, and while you're sharing it, it should be shared. Look, I was trying to cut myself off while talking, but then I dropped my mouse. So on that note, mic drop. Thanks for joining
Bye.
us.
Thanks.